Hello everyone, welcome back to WsCube. In our today's session, we will be discussing problems related to the loops. In this whole module, we covered loops and different types of loops plus the continue and the break statement. So in our today's session, we will be solving major problems that are related to loops, and I hope it will help you to clear all your doubts that you have had so far with the loops.
Also, if you want to become a successful data analyst and you want to learn from our industrial experts, then you may call on the number given below, or you can also click on the link given in our description. Not just that, with our every batch, you will be getting 2 demo classes for free. So let's get started, guys.
So let's get started. Here we have 5 problems right in front of us. So I will be dividing problem solving into 2 parts. One we will do in this session, another part we'll do in the another session, because yes, loops is a huge topic and yes, needs to be discussed thoroughly. So let's get started with the question number 1. So our first question says, write a program to find the sum of all the even numbers up to 50. So yes, up to 50 it's saying it's giving us a range, that there is a range. So we surely know that, okay, we have to use a for loop over here. So let's get started. We need a range of 1 to 50. So first of all, let's write that for I in range, starting value would be a 1, or you can use 0 also. 0, 51. Okay. Because we have to take numbers up to 50, so we will be using 51 over here. Now what we need to do is we need to find the sum of all the even numbers. First of all, we have to find the sum. So let's create a variable on the top. So I'm creating a variable over here, sum, whose value is 0 right now. Right now the sum is 0. Later it will increase throughout the loop. So what we need to do, we need to add all the even numbers. So how to write even numbers are that we write if I when divided by 2 gives the remainder 0. In that condition, what we need to do, we need to increase this sum with I. So whatever our I is, let's say our I is 2, then 4, then 6, this sum will be increased with I. So sum, in that case, sum plus is equals to I. Now you can also write sum is equals to sum plus I, or sum plus is equals to I. Both are the same thing. Sum plus is equals to I, or sum is equals to sum plus I. So to the previous sum, the new sum will be added. So till now, let's say if the total is 8. So the next whatever the next number is, it will be added to the new total and it will create a new total. So now we have a new total. Now new number will be added to it, and again it will create a new total, and with the previous total it will keep adding the new numbers. Now in the end, all I need to do is I need to print the sum. So print sum. Once I'll completely come out of the loop and just print the sum. And also we can add over here that the sum of all the even numbers up to 50 is, I'll put a comma and write the sum. Let's run and see what happens. So if you even check on the internet, the sum of all the even numbers up to 50 would be 650. So this is how it works. This is how you can solve our first program, where we just had to create a variable called as sum, whose value was 0. Whose value was initially 0, but then throughout the loop, every time when there is a even number occurring over there, this whatever the even number would be, it will get added to the sum. This is how you can find the sum of all the even numbers up to the range of 50. This was our first problem. Now moving ahead to our second problem. So guys, here we have our second problem. Our second problem says that write a program to write first 20 numbers and their squared numbers. So if you remember, in the for loop, we wrote a program where we find a table, multiplication table of different numbers. So here also we are going to do the almost same thing, but yes, the formula would change. Here we will be using again a for loop. So for I in range, so how many numbers we need to take? 20 numbers. So starting value would be 1 and ending value would be 21. Now what we need to write? We need to write the number. In front of it, we will be writing its squared number. So first of all, we will print the I itself, I whichever the number is, comma, will give maybe a space or maybe write equal to in front of it. And then over here we will put a comma and write the squared of this number. So how to write squared of this number? We will write I times I, or we can also write I exponent 2. Totally choice is up to you. The whole choice is up to you if you want to write I times I or you want to write I square. So for I square, all you need to do is write I, put the sign of exponent, that is the 2 asterisks followed by 2. And then if I print this, if I run this program, this is how it looks like. So 1 square is 1, 2 square is 4, 3 squares is 9, 4 squares is 16, and so on. We get it up to the number 20. Here our small problem is solved. I hope this was clear to you, and if it is clear, let's move ahead to our next problem, that is problem number 3. So let's have a look at our question number 3, which says write a program to find the sum of first 10 odd numbers using a while loop. So again we have to find the sum, but this time we have to use a while loop. We learned how to find a sum of all the even numbers up to 50 with the for loop in our first problem. This problem is with the while loop. So for while loop, first of all, let's create a variable called as sum whose value is equal to 0 and a starting number. So n, I'm creating another variable which will count my numbers up to 20. First 10 odd numbers comes in the range of 20 numbers. So that's why this n will go up to 20. So we will be giving a condition over here that while n is smaller than and equal to 20, the loop will execute only up to 20 numbers, that while n is smaller than and equal to 20. In that condition, we will also give a condition for the odd numbers, that odd numbers are if n when divided by 2 is not equal to 0, in that condition we will find its sum. We will be adding it to the sum. So how to add it to the sum? We will just write sum plus is equals to n, and how the n is increasing. N is not increasing inside the if statement. I repeat, n is increasing inside the while loop. N is not increasing inside the if statement. It's increasing inside the while loop. So we'll give a backspace before we write it for n. So n plus is equals to 1. Every time our n will increase by 1, and in the end we will print the sum of first 10 odd numbers is, I'll put a comma over here and write sum. Let's run and see what happens. So it says over here that the sum of first 10 odd numbers is 100. And we can confirm it as well. If you want to look over it on the web, you can confirm it as well. That how we did it, I'll just repeat it once again. First of all, we created a variable that is sum, whose value we set to 0. We created another variable n, whose value is 0, because this n is going to count all the numbers that we are going to add to the sum. So the first 10 odd numbers comes in a range of 1 to 20 numbers. That's why we have given a condition over there that while n is smaller than and equal to 20, we have to repeat this method. As soon as it reaches 20, we have to stop this method. So inside the while, we have given a condition that if this n is all the numbers up to 20, so when divided by 2, if it does not give the remainder 0, that's how it makes it an odd number. So if it does not give the remainder 0, in that condition, we will add it to the sum. And if it gives the remainder 0, nothing will happen. And then we have given an increment over here for n, that n will always increase by 1. So because n is all the numbers up to 20, 1 to 20, so n will always increase by 1. That increment we have given outside the if condition. Inside the if condition, we are only increasing the sum. Outside the if condition, that means inside the part of the loop, we are increasing our n, and at the end, we are printing our sum. So this was our problem number 3. Let's move ahead to our problem number 4. So our problem number 4 over here says that write a program to check if a number is divisible by 8 and 12 up to 100 numbers. So we can already see there is a range given to us that is of 100 numbers. So let's get started with the for loop. That you might have now become pro in understanding this for loop, that for I in range we have to take 1, 100, right? I'll put a column. Now what are the condition given to us is that we have to check if the numbers, all the numbers from 1 to 100, if they are divisible by 8 and 12. That means if they are the multiples of 8 and 12. It's not only 8 and not only 12, but it should be a multiple of both 8 and 12. So here we will be writing a condition that if I when divided by 8 gives us the remainder 0, and again this I when divided by 12 gives us the remainder 0, in that condition we have to print that number. I is the multiple of both 8 and 12. So I'll put a comma, in a string I'll write is a multiple of both 8 and 12. Let's run and see what happens. So here it gives us 24 as a number. That 24 is a multiple of both 8 and 12, 48, 72 and 96. So up to the range of 100, these four are the numbers that comes in the table of both 8 and 12. So here our question is solved, and I hope you understand it clearly. Now we will be moving ahead to our next question, that is our question number 5. That is the last question of this part. Then we will be moving to the next part where we will be having more questions to solve. So here is our question number 5. Our question number 5 looks very interesting to me. That write a program to create a billing system at a supermarket. Okay. So let's get started. It looks like a small project as well, along with being a problem itself. So here in this question, I will be using a infinite loop, that is our while true, and I'll be combining it with a nested loop. So it will be a combination of while true and nested loops over here. So I hope you are as excited as I am to write this program. So let's understand how it can be written down. I'll be writing while true over here. Now let's first understand how a billing system works in a supermarket. When you go to a supermarket, when you have bought all the things, when you go to the cash counter, they ask you for your name. Second thing, they check what item you have bought and what is the price of that item and how much quantity it is, right? So like suppose there is some item that costs like 50 rupees and you have bought two of those items. Again it will check, okay, next item you have bought another item which costs 100 rupees and you have brought 3 of those items, right? So another loop this thing is going on, that we will be repeating something for the number of items a person is buying and the amount of it. Then when it's done with the first person, it will show the bill to the person and then repeat the whole procedure for the next person coming over there. So it's one loop is repeating the items that are there, that how many items a person has bought and what is the price and everything, and second loop is working on the number of persons that which are there in the queue. So let's see how it can be written down with the help of a program. The first thing that is asked when you are at a cash counter is your name. So first of all, let's ask for the name. That name is equals to input, enter customer's name. So this program basically, I'm not creating this program from the view of a customer. I'm creating this program from the view of the cashier, the person who is doing the billing. I'm creating this from the perspective of that person. After asking for the name, we can also use our total over here. We can put our total is equals to 0 right now, but this total will increase eventually when we will be moving ahead inside our next loop, which will count our price of the item and the amount of it. So I'm going to use a simple print statement over here, that enter price and quantity of item. Right. After this, I will be asking for the amount of the item that a person has bought. So I'm creating a variable called as amount. Amount is equals to, now amount can be in decimals as well, like something might cost like 99.99, like this is a trend nowadays that they write a price in 0.99, 0.49, right? So yes, the price could be in decimals as well. That's why I'm taking the input in float. So float input, enter amount. Similarly, how much of these items we are buying. Let's say we have an amount of 100, but how many of this item we have bought? Let's say if it is 5, then it will become 500, right? So we will be asking for the quantity over here. That quantity is equal to int. Now quantity cannot be in decimal. The quantity will be in the packets only. So yes, we will be using quantity in the integers only. So quantity input, enter quantity, right? Once a person has entered the quantity, we will be finding the total so far. not the whole total, but the total that is so far. Like suppose 5 packets of something and it costs 100 rupees. So 500 now. For the next item, let's say it would be different. So far the first total is 500. So I'll be writing that total plus is equals to amount times quantity, that whatever the amount is, we will be multiplying it with the quantity. If it is like 100, if the quantity is 5, then 5 times quantity, that is 100 times quantity, that is 500. Now what I will do, I will ask the cashier will check if there is more items. So I'll create a variable over here, that more items, and more items. For that I will be asking for the input, that do you want to add more items, question mark, and give the answer simply in yes/no, right? Okay, now if the answer is no, we learned this in our break statement, that with the while true we can only, to break the while true loop we can only use break statement. Here the conditional statement, we will be using our break statement, that if the answer to this more item, that if more items is equal to no, if a person says no to it, in that condition we will break the loop, right? In that condition we will break the loop. Now after breaking the loop, we need to print the bill for the person. So we will stay in our first loop. We are not moving out of our first loop. We are still going to stay in our first loop. Here we will be printing the bill. So I'll be making a bit decorative for the person. So print, I'll be putting some hyphens, and hyphens times 30. So 30 hyphens would be there. And I'm gonna print name, colon would be our variable name, or you can also write name of customer to make it look more better. Name of customer would be the name that we have been provided on the top, right? Here I'll put a comma in between of this string and a variable. We can print the total amount, so we can write over here amount to be paid, and amount to be paid will be our total. If you want to add rupees also, you can add rupees also in the end. Totally choice is up to you. And I'll be printing maybe something like happy shopping, because it's a bill, it goes to the customer, so yes, it needs to look nice. And lastly, I'll be closing it with the 30 hyphens once again. So yes, I'm going to use a hyphen and multiply it with 30. So 30 times I'll get a hyphen. Now one bill is done, like one person is done. We have done this procedure for one person. What if a person wants to go to the next person? So for that, I'm going to create a variable over here, more people. More people is equals to input, do you want to go to next person, question mark, and its answer also we will be asking in yes/no. So here what we will be doing, we will be writing that if more people, I'm going to break the first loop also. So you can see over here we are using two loops. We are using a nested loops over here. So first loop, we have broken down the first loop when we did it for the items, that if how many items a person is buying. Now if we want to move to the next person also, we need to break the first loop as well. So if more people is equal to no, in that condition we will break the loop. And maybe just to understand that the loop is done over here, we are coming out of the loop, we can print anything over here, maybe just a thank you message for the cashier that he has done a good job and handled so many customers today. So let's run and see what happens when we run this program. Okay, it says they enter the name of the customer. So I'm gonna write Aryan. Aryan entered the, okay, enter prince and quantity of item. Okay, I'll be just changing it to price. I might have made a mistake. So yeah, enter amount. So let's say someone has bought something of 100 rupees and two of those things. Okay, so right now my total is 200. Do you want to add more items? Yes. Now Aryan has bought another thing costing 200 and that he has brought one. So now my total would be 400. So if I say no to this, it prints me a bill that name of the customer is Aryan, amount to be paid is 400. Happy shopping. Now, do you want to go to the next person? It asks, yes, I want to go to the next person. Again, it asks the same thing that, okay, enter the name of the customer. So next customer we have is Lisa. Lisa will, let's say, buy something that costs 500 and one only. And no, she's not buying anything else, so her bill is of 500 and happy shopping. So you can see it keeps repeating, and as soon as you say no, that there is no more people in the queue, as you write no, it says thank you. So your loop is done over here. So this was one of the best examples we could give for our while true with the combination of nested loop. So similar to this programs, you can create many programs. You can show how a ticket system works in a stadium or in a theater. You can add more creativity to it. I would like you all to try some projects by yourselves, and they would be almost similar, where it will be using the while true and it will be using a nested loops, but yes, you can always add more creativity to it. So this was about the problem solving in this part, and I hope all the 5 questions were completely clear to you. In the next part, we will be solving more 5 questions which are based on the loops. As I have said earlier, that loops is a vast topic and needs to be cleared thoroughly. So we will be discussing more questions in our next session, and stay connected. I'll see you in the next session. Thank you.